I hate videos. Now, you may be wondering, if I hate videos, what the heck am I doing here? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to wherever you are tuned in from in the world today. Thank you for being here with us. I'm excited, as always, to spend a little bit of time with all of you. Um, of course, I have an amazing guest that'll be coming on. If I'm speaking a little bit loud, it's because I can hear the music I'm playing on radio. And if you and I have not met yet, my name is Inga van Roy, and I am recognized as a connection catalyst. I am a brand strategist, and I help entrepreneurs develop a strategy so that they can stand out and connect with their ideal community. Today, I'm going to be having an awesome conversation with Whitney. Um, yes, and I'm just ending off the song on this side. So as it ends off, I'm gonna be bringing Whitney on. Um, so let's go. I'm hyped for the conversation. We're talking about faith today, faith, and what that is and what it has meant to Whitney. Woo! Thank you for tuning in. If you've just tuned in, my name is Inga van Roy, and this is Wonder Women Wednesday, broadcasting on Africa Online Radio, where we bring you only the very best in local and international music. That was Hillsong with the song Oceans, a special request from my amazing guest, Whitney. So, without further ado, why don't we bring her on?
Hey!
Happy Wednesday, Whitney.
Indeed. Happy Wednesday to you too.
Thank you. I'm so excited for this conversation. I know that it's going to be awesome. But before we jump in, won't you please introduce yourself and let everyone know who you are and what you do?
Certainly. So, my name is Whitney Koch. I live in the greater Houston area in Texas, and I'm currently a content writer for a digital marketing agency. I'm also a wife, a mom to a soon to be kindergartner, which I cannot believe, a cat person, a crazy butterfly lady, and a governor.
Oh my gosh. Yes. I don't know about crazy, but I know that you love butterflies. And that's why I'm wearing this shirt.
I appreciate it.
Um, it's my pleasure. Do you have your friends
I
there with you?
do.
So, for those that can only hear us on radio, Whitney has a little terrarium where she actually has
If you can see.
caterpillars that are going from that into a chrysalis and then developing into butterflies. Oh my gosh, I
Yeah,
can
so you can see, these are all the ones that have already launched this
yes.
season. And I've got, see, this one is getting, where am I? Oh, other way. Okay, that one's getting darker. So that one will probably launch tomorrow. That's when, like,
Wow.
you can see their wings. And I've got like these two here. These are still working. And
Yes. Wow.
on the inside, you probably can't. I've got a couple of caterpillars in there.
Caterpillars there. That's so cool. Thank you for showing us.
Yeah, it's my little hobby. I've been bringing them inside because I put a butterfly garden in this spring, which I was very excited about, and I had 30 something caterpillars, and they were all like big, getting ready to make their chrysalis, and then they just disappeared. And
Oh,
so I realized I've had some lizards and other predators enjoying them. So
oh,
ever since then, I've been bringing them inside to try and give them a chance to actually make it all the way through and become butterflies.
oh, that's so special. And as you know, I've told you this before, but butterflies are very special to me because of the just the idea of evolution,
Mm-hmm.
growing and becoming.
Mm-hmm.
Because I totally believe that all of us are growing and becoming daily
Yes.
till the day we die.
Yes, I agree. And I keep wanting to write something like really deep about that, but I haven't sat down to do it. But it is uh,
Mhm.
a fun way to kind of have that reminder all the time that we're kind of constantly growing and
Yes.
changing, and might be uncomfortable in the middle, right? But
Mhm.
the end product is very beautiful.
Yes, it can be uncomfortable for sure. Before we jump in, let's say hello to whoever is watching here with us. Ah, my friend Lee. Him and I just had a call earlier today, so nice to see you. Thank you for tuning in, Lee. And then we have Arifur. He says, Assalamu alaikum. Hello, everyone. Thank you
Oh,
for being here. And we have Carmen.
oh,
She was
yay!
a guest. I think you were too did that day.
Yes, yeah, I
Yes.
remember.
Thank you for being here, Carmen. She says, hello, ladies. Carmen is in the house.
Awesome.
Oh my gosh. And we have another special
Yay.
lady,
Hey, Diane.
Diane. She says, hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday. And I'm tuning in from Philly.
Mm,
Nice to see you. Aw. And if you missed it, Diane was a guest on my show as well
yes.
a few weeks ago. And
Great lady.
yes, if you missed it, you can go back and catch the episode on my YouTube. It's my YouTube is called sorry, it's called Inspiration from Inga. So if you'd like to catch that, you may do so there. Carmen and Diane's episodes are there. Diane says, wow,
Nice.
Whitney, how cool. Butterflies. And she also says, growing and
Mm,
becoming. Excellent reminder.
yes.
Can you read this for
Yeah.
you from Carmen, please?
Oh, wow, Whitney. I'm a butterfly person too. I had a butterfly tattooed on my ankle to remind me to be the change you want to see in the world. And I love that quote. That's
Beautiful.
one of my favorites.
By the way, Carmen, I hope you're still watching. There's a friend of mine. His name is Alton Davids. He is also in Cape Town and he talks about being the change. I think
Oh,
you should connect with him. Um, I'll send you his profile. Just remind me, Carmen. Thank you. And look who it
yay.
is.
Hey, Gail.
Hello, Gail. She says, Woot woot, here in Windsor, Ontario, Canada. Canada is in the house. Thank you for being here, Gail. And of course, Diane says, we're too kind.
Aw, come on, Diane. You're awesome.
Yes, yes, you are. And she brought so much value. She spoke about being present, if if we remember. Um, of course, my phone is telling me that this show is happening right now.
In case you
Oh my
forgot.
goodness. Yes, in case I forgot. Um, I see Cecilia was saying thank you for the song, and I think
Mm,
she's referring to Oceans
such a good
by
one.
Hillsong. Yes, thank you for recommending that. It's now in my repertoire,
Oh,
and I can
yay.
pull it whenever. So, oh, Arifir says it's 12:40 a.m.
Oof.
in Bangladesh. So thank you for being here. We appreciate
Yes.
you.
Goodness.
And Annie, hello, Annie.
Yay.
Annie was also a guest on this show, and she says
Oh, yay.
hello from very hot LA.
Yeah, it's hot here too, in Houston.
Yes, me too. And unfortunately, I have to turn my fan off.
Oh no.
Yeah, because otherwise it interferes with my mic.
Mm, yeah.
So anyway, it's all good. Um, I'll I'll try to sneak in a little bit of fan later on.
Yeah, you need like a hand, just a regular old hand fan. Oh, you got one. Nice.
Yes, I
Awesome.
have to because I'm always hot. But anyway, Whitney, let's jump in, shall we?
Yeah, let's do it.
Um, won't you walk us through? You know, hmm, did you tell us what you do? I remember the butterfly, the governor, the cat lady.
Yeah, I'm a content writer
Awesome.
right now. Yes, but I feel like I've lived a few different lives. I've had a couple other kind of careers before that.
Mm.
Um,
Um, that's not a bad thing because
no.
there's so much that you've been able to take and carry
Mm-hmm.
with you along the way, right? Those
Yes.
transferable skills.
Yes, for
So,
sure.
won't you please tell us about your career journey and
Yeah.
what exactly led you to the work that you're currently doing?
Yeah. Do you have more than an hour? um, well, so I started out in education, but even getting there was, um, not really a straight path for me. I went to college and majored in a foreign language. I majored in German because that was really what I was the most passionate about. And a big part of that was just the community that I had in those classes. So, German is not a super popular foreign language to learn in the US. You don't have the same number of students learning it as you do learning Spanish, and now American Sign Language and Japanese and Chinese are much more popular. um, and so we are always kind of a small, pretty close-knit group. And having that community really just meant a lot to me. And I studied abroad, had that experience, uh, lived in Germany for a year after graduating, and kind of came back to Texas and was like, what do I even do? I didn't
Mm,
have um, a good idea of what I wanted to do. So I was just working in retail to make some money, pay back student loans, and trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And at the time, it seemed like, okay, going into education makes sense. I had some teachers that, I was close with, and also who just meant a lot to me in my life.
mm,
And I really value education. So it just kind of seemed like, okay, I can do this. I did my alternate certification since I didn't study education as a major, as an undergrad.
mhm,
And, I did some substitute teaching, and then I was a full time German teacher at a high school in our local school district. And I did that for 4 years and really loved working with my students. But even, this was 9 years ago, 9, 10 years ago, just sort of felt like the way public education in the US was going was not really a direction that I wanted to go in.
mm,
Um, and also, being a teacher is just really hard, and like not always the most compatible career if you want to have a family and really have a lot of time to invest in your family. And that was something that I was really thinking more about. And yeah, I just wasn't sure how I would make that work. If whenever I got married and had kids, how would I feel like I was really doing the best for my students and then also doing the best for my child or children. And so I ended up, really kind of taking a hard look at what I was doing and what skills I even had that would be transferable to something outside of education. And I ended up as a technical writer for a small manufacturing company in the greater Houston area. And, it just really kind of worked out because a lot of teaching is, breaking things down so that these bigger concepts are easier to understand. And, you're trying to not use jargon and things like that, anything that can really be a barrier with understanding. And that's a lot of what technical writing is too. And, so I just did a lot of that as a teacher, writing instructions for my students and, helping them to learn some new technologies as part of our coursework. And even just in teaching itself, teaching a foreign language, a lot of that was explaining, grammar in English, because that was something that, they didn't necessarily understand grammar concepts in the English language. So like getting a grasp on those in a way that, they can really understand. And then once they have that foundation, translating that into the foreign language and like just understanding how all those things work together. So I was doing technical writing. I did that for about 5.5 years and was really looking to do something a little different, but I wanted to stay at my company. I moved into marketing and got to continue doing writing content for the website. And then I got into social media in the last couple of years, thanks to the COVID pandemic. But that was something that I really enjoyed a lot. And it's actually really what led me to my current role, just having a community on LinkedIn and sharing with my community that I was looking for a new opportunity. And excuse me, one of my LinkedIn friends, Andrew Stout, wrote a post about me looking for a new opportunity. And my current boss just happened to see it and just happened to have an opportunity, and everything just kind of fell into place really quickly.
I love that.
Awesome. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, sort of serendipitous, right?
Yeah, the way the timing and everything worked out, it was just it definitely felt like God had a hand in that.
Amazing. And I remember we just had faith that it'll work out, that God will just work it out for you, which is beautiful. So, if you are watching and you haven't heard what I am all about, let me tell you. Um, I'm all about the principle of Ubuntu. Ubuntu, which means it means I am because we are. It is an ancient African principle and really reminds us of our humanity to others. The reason why I believe this is because um, I wouldn't be who I am today if it were not for the community that I have, right? And I believe that we all learn from each other, that even if you and I are offering the same service or doing the same work, there is still room for us all. And we can coexist and pour into each other's lives. Um, so for me, community is really a group of people who pour into each other's lives. What is it for you, Whitney?
That's a good question. I think for me, community is really about having a group of people, a place where you can be authentic and you can drop whatever mask you have to wear and or feel that you have to wear and be accepted as your authentic self.
I
And
love that.
there's definitely a lot of that, you know, shared learning, and just recognizing, like you said, you know, we don't have to have a scarcity mindset. We can learn from each other and grow from each
Hmm.
other. And that really ultimately just makes us all better.
Yes, it does. We can help sharpen each other's pencils,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Just out of interest, what kind of communities are you part of?
Oh, that's a good question. Let's see. So it's been a while since I've been part of the USA Manufacturing Hour community on Twitter, just because social media isn't my primary job focus right now. But
Hmm.
that's a really great group for anyone in the manufacturing industry,
Yes.
to, yeah, learn about different aspects of manufacturing. And manufacturing encompasses so much,
Hmm.
and it's not just, you know, machinists. It's people in the office doing functions like HR and marketing and finance and all that stuff. So there's really just so much to learn.
Hmm.
And they're a very welcoming and encouraging group and supportive. So I love that group a lot. Um, pardon me. Also, if you're on Twitter, the Social Trust group that Deb Coman leads is great. Just
Mm.
talking about, you know, building digital connections and, um, your know, like, trust factor. I've learned a lot through
Yes.
those conversations. Um, and on LinkedIn, you know, I feel like I'm part of your community. I love attending
Yes.
your shows. There's also the shows that I make sure that I attend and have on my calendar. You know, Kurt Anderson and Damon Fistolka and Nicole Donnelly and their
Mm.
manufacturing shows. Um, yeah, I love being able to learn and see people I know in the comments, and yeah, just get to understand the manufacturing industry better. I feel like that's helped me grow a lot as a
Yes.
person, and also professionally in the last couple of years. Outside of that, I'm a governor. So Sharon McMahon and her community on Instagram, with Sharon Says So, and she's got a private book club that I'm part of. Um, and a podcast that I'm a devoted listener of. uh, and
Yes.
then in person, there's my church, and there's a kind of a group of young-ish, not so young anymore, but we're young-ish, young families, and we've known each
Hmm.
other for probably about 10 years.
Mm.
And you know, we've at the beginning of this year all just kind of felt comfortable enough to like meet in person again and kind of bring everyone together. And that's been really nice to have, now that we've all got kids, have our kids come together and play and get to have a little social time as parents before we go in and, you know, listen to the sermon for the week.
Hmm.
Those are kind of my primary communities.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thank you. Let's just jump to the comments quickly. I want to say hello to Rosemary Hader. Thank you for tuning in. She says shalom from New Jersey. Nice to see you here. Thank you. Annie says, especially if you are a public school teacher.
Yeah.
She was commenting on what you said.
Yeah, it's tough. You know, at the height of the pandemic, I just thought, I'm so glad that I don't know how I would have navigated that, especially teaching a subject, you know, that's basically an elective when we're all just trying to stay alive, you know.
Mm.
Teaching is about so much more than just your subject. And I think, you know, if you talk to any teacher, they can tell you how deeply they care for their students and how, you know, learning can't happen if, you know, your students aren't adequately fed, you know, right? If they're not having like those basic needs met, which unfortunately a lot of kids aren't. Makes it really difficult for them to learn, and then it makes the teacher's job that much harder.
Okay, so Diane says yes. Teachers unpack concepts into smaller, learnable pieces.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. She also says that the manufacturing community includes all of us. It includes those of us actually working in the industry and all that use our products and services. Therefore, we are all one big happy community. You're so right. You're
Yes,
so right, Diane.
that's a good point.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
Daisy says, Hola from Lorraine, Ohio. Thank you for being here, Daisy. Also, I had a message from my aunt, Auntie Sheila.
oh,
She's listening, so thank you for
that's great.
tuning in as well. Nice to know that you're there and you're listening. So, how does the work that you do relate to community?
Mm. The work that I do as a content writer is really about educating educating people, right? So my big focus is blog content, and that's really what blogs are there to do, right? Is you go onto Google and you type in a question, and the resources that you're going to check out, especially if it's something that's brand new to you, that's going to be something like a blog post where you can just sort of learn, either from indirectly from someone's experience that they're writing about, or kind of like in teaching where you have a more complex topic kind of broken down and unpacked for you. Um, and that can then sort of bring that person into the community of, the website of, if it's a company, then they can be part of that company's community, right? Um, I used to, haven't in a long time. I used to blog about kind of my own faith, and also worked with my church to develop a church blog and share that, work with other members of the congregation to just write about our faith and kind of get closer to each other and get closer to God in that way. That was really special.
It sounds special.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Um, hmm. So, what are some challenges that you faced and how did you overcome them?
Yeah. Thinking specifically about this conversation and faith, I really didn't have much of a faith life until my early 20s. Um, excuse me. When I was living in Germany the second time, I had an American friend who had um, a strong faith life, and she found a Methodist church that was really kind of for expatriates in our area. And I attended with her just to kind of see, okay, like what is this church thing all about? It had been a very long time since I'd been in church. And, I was really honestly just impressed by her faith to know that, she really went out of her way to find this group and then also to travel out there um, for the weekly sermons. And that's really what kind of got me started on my faith journey. And I didn't do anything with that for several years. I had been, after I came back to the US, I had been in, pretty difficult relationship, someone who had lots of struggles with mental health and substance abuse. And when that was finally done, I started going to church. And to even pick a church, I thought about those experiences that I had with my friend in Germany, and I picked a Methodist church, and that's the church that I've been a member of ever since. And I just felt very um, embraced by them. And then when I was still teaching at the time, I had a small group of fellow teachers that I was friends with, and we would do like a Bible study after school together. And that really helped me develop my faith a lot. And I was active um, in my church in a Sunday school, and that really propelled me to into my next phase, right? And really helped me stay grounded at a time when moving from public education to private sector, like it's a pretty big shift. um, and
Yes.
yeah, there were like definitely some struggles and growing pains with that, and
Mm,
that really helped me stay centered in that. And I'm sure anyone who works in really any kind of field can understand how over time working in a place you have ups and downs, and you think like, is this even the right place for
mm,
me? Or you might have conflict with coworkers, things like that. And I was able to really lean into my faith. And I remembered something that one of my teacher friends had told me, that wherever you are is your mission field. And I thought, okay, if I'm in this
mm,
workplace, this is my mission field. And so
yeah.
what does that mean, right? What does that look like? And if I'm going to treat it like my mission field, how do I want to be? How do I want to act? And that really drove me, for several years, um, just to like, yeah, kind of like what Carmen said, in her tattoo, sort of be the change that you wish to see. All of those ideas kind of came together for me in that time to lead me when I felt like, you know, I was just having a really hard time, and wasn't able to do it very well on my own.
Um. Hmm. So, sorry. Can you be a bit more specific about the hard time that you were having?
Oh,
Can you describe it for us?
let's see. I mean, I guess there was a couple of different times or situations, but really, I guess it came down to just questioning, like, is this even the place for me anymore?
Mm,
Right? Um, and you know, can you, God, still use me in this place? Is there a reason why I'm still here? Do I still need to be here? Um, and the first time that I kind of had that questioning, um, it was clear to me that there was still a reason um, that I was there. And, the next time that came around had a different answer. um, but yeah, I feel like the time that I was there, I was there for a reason.
and so, what was the conclusion that you came to when you were questioning about really if this was the place for you? Um, and I'll tell you why I'm asking that question. But like, what was the conclusion for you?
The first time or the most recent time?
Uh, hmm. I think both. When you put them together and you think about, you know, um, what happened
Hmm.
subsequently, right?
Hmm.
Because we all face obstacles, all face adversity,
Hmm.
and many of us, if not all of us, question
Yes.
whether we're in the right space.
Yeah.
Um, so, for you, what was that? What was the conclusion for you?
Yeah. Um, I felt like the first time, right? Just through music, through my own studies that I was doing, like Bible studies and things like that, um, and prayer, that the message that I was receiving, all signs were pointing to stay. Didn't necessarily like that answer, but I accepted that. And then, that makes you look internally to think about, okay, if I'm going to stay, and if I think of this place as my mission field, what do I need to change about, my attitude, my perspective, my perceptions, the way that I interact with people, so that produced a lot of internal change. And um, and then plus, just as you get older and you go through different life experiences, you're growing and changing as well. And over time, um, I I was just sort of growing away, right? I think before it was more of like splitting apart and then kind of coming back together, and then another splitting apart, where it became clear that what was important to me in terms of like my values, um, just wasn't in alignment anymore. And um, a lot of people will say things like bloom where you're planted, and that's definitely an idea that I hung on to a lot. But having had more experience, and I say that loosely, like with gardening, like more experience with gardening, and just understanding that a little bit more, um, you can't always bloom where you're planted.
Mm,
You might bloom for a season, um, and then you die. you
mm,
know, and just understanding that sometimes you can change yourself
mhm.
and do internal work. But if that's the only change that's happening, that's only going to get you so far. There also
Yeah,
needs to be some change in your soil, right?
yeah.
And yeah, our pastor was preaching a series on this recently too. It's really interesting. Yeah, like the soil, the ground that you're in, your environment, your mission field, those things have an impact on you. Like for sure you should have an impact on them, but they impact you as well. And is that to your benefit or to your detriment?
Mm,
you know and um if it's to your detriment to the point where, if you're a person of faith and you're not living that out, um that's not good.
no.
Right? It's not good for your own well-being, and then you're not a very good
Mm,
example of your
mm,
faith either.
mm. Hmm. So the reason why I was asking you that question is because on my own journey, I've questioned and wondered if, you know, um, I need to move myself,
Mhm,
if I need to go somewhere different, do I
mhm,
remain there, etc. Right? And I think the I kind of had an epiphany about this, and I will say it was sometime last year. The epiphany was that if I'm not where I'm supposed to be, it's not necessarily up to me to move myself.
mhm,
Because if I am believing that God is in control,
mhm,
then isn't it up to God to move me,
mhm,
right? And we as people, we struggle with that because basically we have to relinquish control,
mhm,
right? And but at the end of the day, it's so important, and it really is a step in faith when
mhm.
we surrender and wait for God to make the move.
Yeah.
um, and I honestly, that was part of my journey in my most recent months.
Mhm,
Because at the end of the day, I also have to remember that God is God. He doesn't need my help,
Yeah.
right? And if I look at your recent challenge that you had where you were questioning, um, it wasn't up to you to move yourself out there. He did, and he also created a new space for you.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. That really resonates where, like there are some things that are kind of within our control, right? But ultimately, it's
Yeah,
not. And, so in, I don't know, the over a 6 month period or so, I was doing the steps that I could take, right? What was
yeah,
in my control
yes,
to change, and realizing, okay, I need some new soil,
yeah,
and working on that. And then, yeah, ultimately, that did not go quite as I was expecting,
mm,
and was let go kind of out of the blue. But I mean, really, it was the best thing for a number of reasons. And um, one of them, I think, was, just my understanding that, um, I don't know, how sometimes you just always like to think the best of people, right? And even if they do things that are maybe not so great, I like to give people the benefit of the doubt, right? And just sort of the realization that, um, you know, who I thought people were was not really who they are. And
mm,
just that, which is a very harsh thing. Um, but yeah, I guess I'm the type of person who really needs like a harsh wake up call when it comes to stuff like that.
mm,
But that's really helpful, right? And I
mm,
think, that gives me as a person a lot of information that I can take moving forward as well,
mm,
just as I build relationships with people.
yeah.
um, you have um, kind of a different perspective. And yeah.
Mm. Let's go to the comments. You have a friend here.
Hey, Andrew.
Can you read his comment for us, please?
He says, hey, Wit, how is the lady with the smile that lights up any room? Hey, Inger.
Oh,
And thanks again to Andrew, because he's the reason I have my current role.
well, thank you, Andrew, for the impact that you had on Whitney's life. If you're still watching, um, I'm so happy that you were able to help her.
Me too.
And Daisy is speaking to you. She says, so glad your choice was to stay. Everything else, give it to God, Whitney. The Holy Spirit guides us to all truth. God is willing if we are. Mm, beautiful.
Yeah.
And Diane says, Whitney, you just described why one of my family trees immigrated to the US. Wow.
That's very interesting.
That's so interesting.
We'll have to talk about that sometime, Diane. I'd love to hear
Yes.
this.
And I don't know if you know, but Diane is a genealogy nut.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's so cool.
So am I.
Nice.
So am I. One of my favorite shows to watch is Long Lost Family.
Oh, I haven't heard of that.
Yeah, you should check it out. There are quite a few episodes actually on YouTube.
Mm.
I was gonna say LinkedIn, but no. On YouTube, there's quite a few shows, and I have a story around that show, but I'll share it um, maybe later if we have time.
Oh, yeah.
Daisy says, "Amen." Diane says, "No flower can bloom in a toxic or abusive environment." Oh, that's true. We have a hello from Alton. He's tuning in from Cape Town. I spoke about you. Elton, I think your ears must have been burning. Andrew says it was an honor to help her out. She is a special woman, person, and professional.
Thanks.
Absolutely. I agree. Oh my goodness. So, um, hmm, do you have any tips for anyone that's listening on how to grow your faith?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Um,
Mm,
I don't know that I really call it a tip, but I
mhm,
have grown my faith through hardship. um,
mm,
Probably not really what people want to hear, but that's really been those have been the times that I've felt,
mm,
I think the
yes.
closest to God and where I've really learned and grown a lot.
Mm,
Um, and I have not been good about it in quite some time. Like before I had my son, I had a really nice routine where I'd get up early in the mornings, have my breakfast, and have some quiet, like personal study time, prayer time, things like that. That really helped me, um, yeah, just kind of build build my own knowledge and understanding and relationship with God.
mhm,
Um, and that's something that I'm still, as a parent of a young kid, trying to figure out how to, what that looks like, I guess, for this season of my life.
mhm,
But yeah, and the other thing that, um, I would say has been big for me is music. In the Houston area, there's a Christian radio station, KSBJ, that, now I'm not commuting anywhere, but I used to listen to that, in the car all the time, and they
mm,
play songs like Oceans, like you played before our
nice.
conversation, and just having that kind of quiet, alone time in the car, like really reflecting on the
Mm,
lyrics of songs and having kind of some special worship time.
yes.
um, that that was a big faith grower for me. And then there were times like, when my grandfather was in hospice and he was passing away.
Mm,
Those were a great comfort to me. There's one song that I just kind of kept repeating to myself in my mind, and having things like that to lean on, that makes a big difference.
mm. You've spoken about um, having ADHD before,
Mm-hmm.
and I've heard you speak about it before. So, um, was that something that either you needed your faith to go through,
Mm-hmm.
or was it something that helped you build your faith? Because it is a struggle,
Yeah.
learning about it, figuring out what your limitations are, etc.
Mm-hmm. Um, yeah, I think just having kind of like the understanding of grace, has
Mm,
really been a big part of that. And um, I think it's easier. It can be easier for people to extend grace to others. And so, I
mm,
think this has been more of a season of extending grace to myself.
good.
Um, yeah, just kind of navigating, yeah, um, like the challenges that you have. Like I told you earlier, Monday I had like a super focused day and I worked really hard, like didn't really take a break. And it really has been a struggle since then for me to just kind of come back and refocus my attention. And, I'm sure past me would have just been very self-critical
Mm,
and, you know, shaming yourself like that for something that you don't really have that much control over, right? Like that's not going to do anything positive for you. Shame is not going to bring
no,
you positive results.
no, it's not.
And so it's more of a just an understanding like, okay, well, this is how my brain works sometimes, and what do I need um, to do for myself to kind of get through this? Is it that I need to turn the lights off and like have a not so like visually stimulating environment, or do I need to have some kind of sound on in the background to kind of help me focus my attention? Do I need to work in a different room and have a change of scenery? Just kind of showing myself the patience to work those things out.
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah.
Awesome.
I don't know what it would have been like, if I didn't have that understanding of grace.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, um, as you said, we so easily give grace to others,
Mhm.
right? And
Yeah.
not to ourselves. Um, but what is grace? It's unmerited favor, and there's no person that is not worthy of it.
Mm.
We all are not worthy, actually, if you really want to think
Yeah.
about it like that.
Yeah.
Um, but we are definitely not the exception. So
Yeah.
it's mhm.
Well, I was just going to say, you asked earlier about the communities I was in, and I can't believe I didn't
Mm,
mention my ADHD coaching community. Like,
mhm,
I can't believe I forgot them, because I just talked with some of them last night. But yeah, just having a group of, either like-minded individuals or people who are maybe like in the same stage of life or something like that, having something to bring you together. And so for
mhm,
my ADHD coaching group, we're all women kind of around the same age, working women. Some of us were diagnosed in childhood, some later in adulthood, but we're all kind of facing some of the same struggles and having to figure out and unpack, um, you know, what are things that are, I don't know, maybe that society has projected onto us that we've internalized versus,
mm.
like who are we really, and just kind of going on that journey together. And that's been awesome.
Well, I love that. I'm glad that you have that kind of community,
Yeah.
um, because as you know, it's it's more difficult to diagnose girls and women with ADHD, right?
Yeah.
So let's go to the comments and see what people are saying. Elton says, sometimes our kids learn from what we do rather than what
Mm.
we say. Oh, I feel that right here, actually, Elton. And just on a side note, Elton, by the way, this morning I went for a walk with my daughter, my eldest daughter,
Yay.
and I've had the opportunity to walk with the others as well. But they're all just cheering me on in that journey and joining me when they choose to. So he says, actions speak volumes to them. Our faith is reflected in our actions, language, and how we treat others. Oh,
Yeah.
yes. Um, okay, Rosemary posted this. She says, yes, and amen. Yahweh does work through our yes, and He does need us. He has given us dominion and authority, as stated in Genesis 1:26 to 28. We see them looking for our yes in Yeshua. Um, hmm. And she says, she's quoting scripture, but basically she's saying that God does work through our yes and our faith, and He does need us. He's given us dominion and authority. Awesome. So true. She also says, shame is a prison. And this I learned directly from Yahweh while he was speaking to me and directly lighting upon shame. I'd been carrying. Shame is a prison. Ooh,
Yeah.
that's so true.
Yeah.
And Andrew says, I'm always here, my friend. Whitney, I'll share the story another time, but won't you please just share your final thoughts with us and also where we can find you?
Yeah. Final thoughts. I think I would just recommend that anyone who does not have a faith practice, that you would maybe just explore. You don't have to pick one or the other. I think everyone can choose for themselves what resonates most. But having that and building on that, and just understanding that that there's something out there that's higher than you, um, can really be a great guide in your life. And um, it's always good to have something to lean on in hard times, and something that can give you a deeper joy as well in those times. As far as finding me, you can find me on LinkedIn. Mondays, I like to share a motivational quote. Wednesdays, I like to share about something that I've been reading or like a podcast I've been listening to. And Fridays, I like to, excuse me, start the weekend off with a joke.
Nice. I love those Friday funnies. Daisy says, yes and amen. We are way too hard on ourselves. But God says, for my yoke is
Mm.
easy and my burden is light. Matthew 11:30. And she says, God makes all things possible. We just have to believe. Hmm.
Yeah,
Rosemary says, yes, Alton, a previous pastor said, more is caught than is taught.
that is very true.
Absolutely. So we have just a few minutes, and I'll just share quickly with you about my genealogy
Yeah.
story. Um, I have a friend who I met in 2011, and as we developed our friendship, she told me that she hadn't seen her mom since she was a very young girl. At
Oh,
that
wow.
at that point, when I met her, she was in her 50s already, and then that was 2011. So in 2013, I had my second hip replacement. And while I was recovering, I watched a whole heap of this show that I told you about, which is Long Lost Family. And because of that, she came to visit me one day and I said, listen, I need to talk to you. And she said, yeah, what is it? I said, well, I've been watching this show and I just feel that I'd like to help you find your mom.
Mm.
She was born in England. Um, she was raised there for a few years. When she was 9, she and her dad went back to Jamaica, where he was from.
Oh, wow.
And then they were there for 2 years and then moved to Canada. And she's been here ever since. She
Mm.
just never, um, she never heard from her mom. And
Mm.
uh, at some point, her her dad had a house fire, and so in that house fire, her birth certificate was burnt, so she
Oh.
lost it. And because of me watching Long Lost Family, I found, because I watched the UK version, so
Hmm.
I found out that UK births, marriages, and deaths are able to be accessed by anyone.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So when I sat my friend down, it was January of 2014, and I said, I just want to help you find your mom because you don't know what actually happened until you speak with her.
Yeah.
right? Well, um, I applied for and received her birth certificate for her birthday. Her birthday was in February, and I gave it
Oh.
to her as a birthday gift. And then, and the thing also is, her father used to call her mom by a nickname,
Mm.
and he didn't remember what her legal name was.
Oh, wow.
Because, when her father was an older dad, but
Mm.
when she got to speak to him about her, um, he couldn't remember. But
Mm.
he had sent her to England when she was 18 to try to find her
Oh,
mom.
wow.
When they got there, um, she went to see, she stayed with her family, and her uncle took her to go and visit the mom's sister. When they got there, the mom's sister had passed away, and that was all. They didn't know anything else about the
Wow.
mother. And so for her birthday in 2014, I was able to give her a birth certificate with her mother's name
Mhm.
on it for that birthday. And
Yeah.
she was so appreciative. Um, After that, it took me some time, quite a bit of time actually, trying to find different leads. Couldn't
Mhm.
find anything until 2016.
Wow.
The Lord prompted me, said, now is the right time to look for her. And so 2016, I think it must have been November, I started looking. Within 2 weeks, I found the mother and three sisters.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah. And I connected with the sisters on Facebook, um, and put her in touch with them. So for
Oh.
Christmas 2016, that was my gift to her.
Wow.
Um,
That's
yeah,
amazing.
thank you. She's been able to meet her mother a few times. She's gone
Mhm.
over there. Her mother has since passed away.
Mm.
She passed away last year, and my friend went. She went for the funeral.
Mhm.
Um, and in September, two of her sisters are coming to visit her here,
Oh, how
and
exciting.
I'll get to meet them too.
Wow. That's so cool.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's really
And it
special.
really was for me a walk in faith because
Mm.
God showed me what I needed to do
Mhm.
and I did it. So,
Wow.
anyway, thank you, Whitney, for being an awesome guest. It
Yeah,
was
thank you
just
for
such a
having me.
pleasure to have you. Thank you. Um, and thank you if you are watching live. I'd like to invite you to come on over to the other side and come and listen on africup.co.za. Um, we will be live. I'll move over there. We'll say goodbye to Whitney now, but I'll move over there and wrap up the conversation. So thank you again, Whitney.
Thank
You were
you.
amazing. And I'll see you guys again next week for another episode of Wonder Women Wednesday. But definitely, if you can, hop over to the radio. I'm going to be playing some music um, that Whitney recommended as well. So thanks, Whitney. I'll
Thank
see you.
you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.